said, look doctor, didn't you ask Venezuela for warships to help we in this empty mutiny? From Barrow we get rum, from Manly aluminum, Burnham feeding we with rice, yet you calling him a blind mice. Eric say, let Burnham keep he rice. I've got oil, they will have to pay my price. Oil don't spoil, three of them come like three blind mice. Don't you know? I treat them like if they were my wife. I give them money like peas by Christ, but it's my own throat they're trying to slice. Them three blind mice. So true.
This is Caribbean.
Them three mice do not know is I have them on the toe. Food for them to be fed. Without me all of them dead. Is my people have to toil to give them pitch and oil, yet they back in Venezuela and don't want my land to smelt up. If I lie, ask Kamal about the bacchanal down at the convention when Ivan asked Williams, Doc, why Venezuela don't want we to smelt her? Doctor, can you tell me why Jamaica vex with we? Eric say, tell Manly and Burnham I've got oil. Let Barrow kiss me tail. Oil don't spoil. Three of them come like three blind mice. Don't you know? Manly, Burnham, Barrow, they're running. From Barrow we get rum, from Manly aluminum, Burnham feeding we with rice, yet you calling him a blind mice. Eric say, let Burnham keep he rice. I've got oil, they will have to pay my price. Oil don't spoil, three of them come like three blind mice. Don't you know? Burnham, I treat them like if they were my wife. I give them money like peas by Christ, but it's my own throat they're trying to slice. Them three blind mice. So true.
This is Caribbean.
Them three mice do not know is I have them on the toe. Food for them to be fed. Without me is my people have to toil to give them pitch and oil, yet they back in Venezuela and don't want my land to smelt up. Eric say, they value my money as dirt, but I've got oil. 80 cents they say it is worth, but oil don't spoil. They remind me of them three blind mice. Don't you know, Manly? My dollars, they best think twice. Them three blind mice.
Rowley, my first grave for he. I put him down with glee. All of them useless politician, only making up numbers in my island. Al-Rari, I refuse body. I leave them Muslim, them to deal with it. It's time to move trash from out of this land. Back on my cemetery, turn he upside down, he face I can see. Look for the strongest grave digger to cover he. Not with the hand, put good fork on he. Gypsy, political grasshopper, I may feel little pity cause he's my brother. But like Tarzan, he's swinging from vine to vine. It's time I help you to make up your mind. Fitzgerald, Rasta City, I know they go glad to get the body. Resi on be tam down fall to see. Drink 2 beers and watch Coco get happy.
Yes, indeed. A pleasant good night to all and sundry. This is the corridor transformation. And of course, I thought I should give you a combination, a medley of course, the reality of Trinidad and Tobago, of course, the involvement of Venezuela that mysteriously have not been disclosed by any of the government spokespersons, including, of course, the Prime Minister and the Minister of Energy. I'm talking about Stuart Young. And therefore, we know by their silence, something is afoot, apace, and that they are attempting to hide from, of course, all of us. But social media is their arch nemesis. Let's hear what Lady Gypsy has to say about them.
Fally boy, you is a boss. I celebrate with you when PNM lost. One day you must come bust a line with me. We gon' for country. I will stand by your side and watch you at work. Or if you falter, you're going to get fucked.
To invoke the doctor and then write him a letter. I want to ask him a question. If he knew what was passing, I hear people complaining. He is the man with the answer, but he quite over yonder. They say, snake in the Palisade. Snake in the Palisade.
This is Caribbean Vibes.
Snake in the Palisade. And they biting hard. Snake in the Palisade. I'm sorry. In the country, man, they worse than Mappy feet. When they're making the racket, they just dress up in nice jacket. Some big fat mackerel, drink out the oil in the oil well.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. A snake in the Balizé. I wonder if a snake and what type of snake, indeed. But let's hear, of course, a shadow once again, as, of course, Rowley attempts, of course, to mimic in karaoke style. Let's hear him again.
I want to invoke the doctor and then write him a letter. I want to ask him a question. If he knew what was going on, the other day I was passing. I hear people complaining. He is the man with the answer, but he quite over yonder. They say in the Palisade. Snake in the Palisade.
This is Caribbean Vibes.
Snake in the Palisade. And they biting hard. Snake in the Palisade. I'm sorry for Trinidad. Big snakes in the country.
17th reports of the Salaries Review Commission. With respect to the 113th report of the SRC, the President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, by letter dated March 13, 2020, conveyed her approval for the Salaries Review Commission to undertake a general review of the terms and conditions of service of officers within its purview. In that 2020 review, the Commission considered the economic challenges that the country was facing as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as the economic challenges that the country had faced since 2014, which was the last time there was a general review of the terms and conditions of service of officers within its purview. After consideration of all the circumstances, historical precedent, and the factors prevailing at that time, the Commission recommended in its 113th report that the existing salaries and allowances of officers within the Commission's purview be maintained for the period 2014 to 2020. In other words, that there should be no increases in salaries and allowances for the 6-year period 2014 to 2020. With respect to the 117th report of the SRC, the President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, by letter dated April 14, 2023, conveyed her approval for the Salaries Review Commission to undertake a review of the terms and conditions of service of officers within its purview, based on the results of the job evaluation exercise and compensation survey, which was undertaken by the Personnel Department in respect of such officers. In the course of conducting the general review, as reported in the 89th report of the SRC, undertaken in June 2009, almost 15 years ago, a large number of office holders requested changes in the relative positioning of their jobs within the existing salary structure. At that time, the SRC expressed the view that an assessment of the duties and responsibilities attached to the various officers should be carried out, and considered that it might be appropriate for a job evaluation exercise to be undertaken. Cabinet in July 2009 agreed to accept the recommendation of the SRC for the conduct of a job evaluation exercise to evaluate officers under the purview of the Salaries Review Commission, and for the conduct of a compensation survey to be undertaken. Given the diverse occupational groupings which fall within the purview of the SRC, it was considered prudent that a diagnostic exercise be conducted to provide guidance on considerations for the conduct of the job evaluation exercise and the compensation survey. Upon identifying a suitable consultant, the diagnostic exercise commenced in 2012 and was completed in January 2013. Thereafter, Cabinet's approval in 2014 for the conduct of the job evaluation exercise of the officers within the purview of the Salaries Review Commission and the conduct of a compensation survey. It was intended that the job evaluation exercise and the compensation survey would be undertaken between August 28, 2014 and the general review immediately following the 98th report. Subsequent to Cabinet's approval for the conduct of the job evaluation exercise and compensation survey, through an open tendering process overseen by the Central Tenders Board, Corn Ferry Limited, formerly known as Hay Group Limited, the consultant, was formally contracted in December 2015 to provide consultancy services for the conduct of a job evaluation exercise and compensation survey for the officers within the purview of the SRC. In approaching the conduct of the compensation survey, the SRC developed a compensation philosophy, which was guided by the draft compensation policy of the public service. Key elements of the philosophy included: 1, the need to attract, motivate, retain, and engage individuals committed to public service. 2, the need to differentiate appropriately among differing levels of experience, knowledge, skills, and abilities. And 3, the need to utilize a total rewards framework in assessing appropriate compensation falling within its purview. Members of various backgrounds representing each of the occupational groupings within the purview of the SRC. The committee consisted of office holders from among the family groupings of elected and appointed officers, top managers in the public service, and statutory bodies.
President, good night once again. I thought I should pause there because I want you to observe this fella as he presents, of course, more poison for the people of Trinidad and Tobago and self-serving dispositions on top of their corruption and their benefiting and their conduct in terms of manipulating the system to have an unfair further bite at the national cherry, or put another way, the national treasury. Let's go straight, of course, to the lines one time. You know, we like to give way to the callers. So a pleasant good night. Welcome. Welcome. Pleasant good night. Welcome.
Yes, good night, Lennox. Yesterday, to observe this man, I wasn't really listening to him, you know. I can't take him on. I stay in focus on the finding out so far, the development.
Yes.
And I just keep in focus.
I'm coming there
I
as
ain't
well.
making them people bother me at all.
Beautiful,
People
beautiful.
going off on this thing with this raise, the government want to give the opposition and themselves. That ain't bothering me at all, right?
Well
I
done.
focus on that vessel there in Tobago water. Well, I hear they find some cocaine near the vessel in the same area. It wash up ashore. I feel it have more, you know, Lennox. They find one, other people could find and stay quiet.
Yes, yes, like what happened in
Hello?
Mayaro. Like what happened in Mayaro. Remember something
Yeah.
in Mayaro, you know, and people of, let's say, death threats
Right.
and so on. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Things. And
Yes,
it's
it's
all
wonderful.
kind of things that people see and know.
Yes.
Right? Now, the development with Mr. Arnold Roberts, what he's saying is the vessel leave a place called Aruba, but yet, no, that's what they're saying, but yet he's telling you it left a certain port from a country where people living close to Aruba, which is Venezuela. And Stuarty and them not talking about that at all.
That's right.
But what I find Mr. Arnold Roberts should do, you know, it has people to understand these locations where Aruba is, Curacao, Borneo, right? He should have a map how the vessel sails. So if you could put up a map, which I could send for you, I don't know if you want to do it, but people will understand better and get a clearer idea. Good?
Yes.
So, but state it left, the name of this port, I believe it is Paguana, I believe, on that side. Close to a place called Punta Fijo. And it sailed from north there, the north coast there, straight to Tobago. But I believe that vessel, they lose the way. You know, you could get lost at sea when you do have a guy. And it was I believe it was to come through the Dragon Mouth and come Trinidad. The same way they lie about all of that is a certain lie about it going to Guyana. Guyana don't have no refinery to refine crude. Here don't have any, but it has a line and it could go out and know they do the transaction and sell it on the high seas. They get a US and it's so they're doing with the bunkering. So I believe strongly that vessel lost its way and it had all kind of thing on it. And this is what we know. Something else to say about the people at Tobago, but I will try and call in after.
Okay then, no
So I'll
problem.
end it here for now.
Yes, indeed. Well, of course, first and foremost, the Lord moves in mysterious ways, his wonders to perform. Nobody was supposed to know. And it is questionable. It is questionable. And of course, it is up for grabs. The knowledge, the awareness, the consciousness, the information, whether or not members of this administration would have been aware. And the caller must be commended for her meticulous, of course, observations and the information that she has gleaned, and of course make an assessment. Not that she is regurgitating, but part of it clearly is from her own assessment and analysis. And I want to tell her that wonderful. Because yes, how come there's an absence of mention by Rowley or the Minister of Energy, Stuart Young, on the question of the Venezuelan connection? There can be only two reasons why that has been lacune, that it was, of course, left out. A lacuna, left out. And that is, one, they are source of the impact that it will have on the Dragon gas arrangement. Omit. You know you could lie by actually lying or by omission. Well, this is a lie by omission or a conduct by omission. That they do not want the population to be aware that there is a Venezuelan connection, because it will, of course, reduce, hamper, downgrade, retrograde, erode their political prospects. After all, 2024 is supposed to be a long, hot 12 months. And of course, 2025 actual elections. But the Lord moves in mysterious ways. They could say what? Karma is a hell of a thing, including poetic justice. Let's go to the lines. A pleasant good night. A pleasant good night.
Good night, Lennox. How are you going, boy?
Well, of course, as good as could be.
Yes, good night, Lennox. How are you going, boy?
As good as could be, my friend. Let me hear what you have to say. Yes.
You see this little short man, this leprechaun?
Yes.
I hear you. Attracting people away from that fiasco up in Tobago. And you know what? It seems to me like that boat is some kind of a magic boat. Because 1 minute you're seeing oil, next minute you're seeing cocaine like substance coming out from there. Just now you might see a few people that human traffic coming out from there too. Because that boat is a mystery. So they go on, they disappear. They know it to be found. They can't find them. Then finding telling fishermen, people that go down in that to save divers, but they can't find these people. They go on, and if they feel they're trying to put all over people's face or eyes, with this boat coming from Venezuela and saying they're coming from Guyana, then I'm wrong. Because the quick house man and Stevie Wonder could see that this boat was in Venezuela and it's bunkering stuff, not only oil or whatever oil like, but I want to know who in charge of governance for the last 9 years. That is PNM government, and they had opportunities to put in these things. These PNM people really stupid to the max, you know. I can't understand some of them now, they're not boy. And you know they're running with that. It's camera cause all this thing for the boat up and shoot and for the oil spillage and everything. Boy, they does not take ownership of any wrongdoing, you know. Nothing like that, you know. Only foolish talk. And when you see they come with this distraction here, with this money business, right? They distract the public. Stuart Young come on in Parliament and say, what 350 both in the same name? 5, you know. 5 votes with the same name that he talking about. And he come in parliament and lying. This man, oh gosh. No wonder they call him the Prime Minister Cardi. The Prime Minister Cardi boy, he's came all over the place. What's Golf Family? Lennox, these people are disgrace. Right? So have a good night.
And say, be my friend of God, Cardi. No. He is total and absolute. Not just a misfit. But of course, he's Rowley's jester, a total comic, a total lampoon, total caricature. That's his sidekick, Rowley's sidekick, who is prepared, of course, to do anything so that he and his family, father and brother, could be handed sumptuous and, of course, a very lucrative contracts. They have gotten, of course, the contract where he, Short Young, recused himself on hundreds of times and provided, of course, this country, the cabinet of this country, with budgetary resources contracted by the cabinet, by the government, for them to look for money all over the place, beginning with a little-known financial institution. Now, of course, it's a merchant bank with all of the connotations associated with a merchant bank. Buying, of course, the people's assets, whether in the form of bonds, and then, of course, buying it for pepper money and waiting for its maturity because they have the resources. Courtesy this government for 4 to 5 years, they provided budgetary support by way of contract. It is Stuart Young, brother, financial institution that is the preferred institution for the of funds to support budgetary issues in Trinidad and Tobago under the Rowley administration. Bubble. And when you look critically at this arrangement, you see that they are borrowing money to lend the government to support budgetary arrangements higher than that of, let's say, our largest bank, Republic Bank, or indeed First Citizen Bank. So there was no competition. Rowley, of course, would like to make us believe that there was competition. But as we know, when Rowley says run, you know you have to stand up. So he says there is competition. And of course, it's the always gets the contract. Always gets the contract. And all Young had to do in this cabinet, a concoction of mismanagement, a concoction of corruption. All he had to do, he, Young, when his brother's bank is considered as if he's stupid, he just had to walk out the room when the cabinet is considered. That is what Rowley tells us, and he's saying that is international best practice. That us believing that we are fools. Yes, I'm talking about the Prime Minister of this country, a total and absolute rapist and pedophile. Yes, indeed. And insult after insult to, and it is about time that we put these miscreants in their places and make them understand that they are not bright and that they are totally obtuse. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Welcome to the corridor. Welcome to the corridor.
Good night, Mr. Lennox.
Good night to you.
Pleasant good night, Mr. Lennox.
Yes, good night to you. Yeah, you
Yes,
loud and
Mr.
clear.
Lennox,
Yes.
Everything adding up a little bit, You're playing little bush investigator, right?
Yes.
Yeah, good night to you. Good night to you. You hear me?
Yes, loud and clear, loud and clear.
Hello?
Loud and clear, loud and
You
clear.
hear me? Mr.
Loud
Lennox?
and clear, yes.
Right. Everything adding up when you play, that's correct. When you're playing investigator, right?
Yes.
Like, we're doing a little investigation on the ground. When Delphi came in here unannounced, nobody didn't know. They didn't keep no minutes in the meeting. So definitely that wasn't benefiting the public. So what people of Trinidad have to know, anything that is doing allegedly underhand by any administration would not benefit the people of Trinidad and Tobago. I just repeat it after the Prime Minister. It will just get the rich richer. It will not benefit the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So even if you had a little disagreement or you support this, we have to come together to support the common enemy, which is the People's National Movement. I hear people going all around calling this PNM and that PNM. All the PNM is the same because they're loyal to the same master. I don't know who that is, but that master don't benefit us, the layman on the ground. You have a blessed night.
Yes, my friend. Yes, my friend. And of course, I think what he meant. Of course, I accept the Freudian slip because a slip of the tongue when he said, of course, support the evildoers, when in fact he meant, of course, we should not support the evildoers. So that clearly is a Freudian slip based on the context in which he, of course, made his presentation. So let's not waste time with that slip because there are those who are going to capitalize on it, and we don't want, of course, to leave any stone unturned. We must be meticulous. We must be eclectic. We must be sagacious. We must be, of course, very, very, very circumspect. And when, of course, we deliver, they must look right, look left, look center, look up, look down. All you will see is pure truth and nothing but the truth. Whereas, of course, Rowley and they, as one, I think it was Abraham Lincoln who said about truth. He says, of course, once truth exists, there would be no need to lie. But when lying exists, as in the case of Rowley and they, there is always another version of the same story, depending on the audience, the circumstance, and of course, the refuting and the challenge to what they are saying. And we're seeing it unfolding, of course, right now, as far as the oil spill and the barge and the tug that was involved in or has been involved in this matter. Yeah. That is a fundamental principle. But I raised this night the salary matter to see the extent to which people will call in and to tell me the same thing that I was saying yesterday and on the ground report this morning as well. It is merely a deflection. Well done to those of you who I have taunted tonight. Began the program with, of course, that deflection, that propaganda, should I say, mutation that will take place, because that's just the first stage. As Imbert gives us the methodology and all of the persons involved, that is how they justify their criminal conduct. That is how they justify their dishonesty, by spreading the alleged benefit, they alone benefit. You doubt me? You're a sycophant? Well, let me give you some examples of what I'm talking about. Right now, because of on the question of apartments or buildings, family accommodation, they passed, of course, a measure in the parliament as they came into office indicating that anybody who construct after, of course, the implementation of the measure that they had proposed in the parliament through the Minister of Finance, the same Minister Smith, that says you have 25 years to pay no taxes if you are constructing apartment buildings for family. You ever say you have 25 years? Well, Rowley constructing and Imbert constructing have constructed. And more importantly, nobody before that time could get that same benefit of 25 years moratorium. That is the beast we are dealing with. A pleasant good night. A pleasant good night. Welcome. Loud and clear. Loud and clear. Loud and clear.
Right. This environmental work spirit, nice. This environmental work spirit that would end up in as an international crime and stuff like that. Are they trying to figure out them kind of things that happen to the environment and the planet? And other people, I mean, we are a sovereign country, but in other countries and other people supposed to step in and try to figure out what is going on here.
Yeah, well,
and that's why you get feedback on that.
Yeah. Indau Singh did make a comment on the issue. I think I played it last night, where of course he indicated that there is an international agency where, of course, people who are culpable in that way for generating that level of havoc on countries' environment must pay a particular penalty. So I suspect that the perpetrators in this case knew all of that and made good their escape in the middle of the night. You know, Rowley like to talk about middle of the night talk, like when, of course, he came back from, I think it was the Middle East, and told us that Bill Gates gave us a not so insignificant amount of money allocated to Trinidad and Tobago through his foundation. Bill Gates are talking about. Remember that? And he came, and of course, just as how he ramaged with respect to the dragon gas, you know, he loves when things are in his favor. He's the ultimate egotist, and of course, under the quintessential narcissist, lover of self, ramaged, and to embellish it, to make it sound sweeter, he said that he had a contact with the head of the United Nations, Chief General, and of course suggesting that they had a conversation because he is high up in the international stage. You know, he loves to say that we punch high above our weight, all that kind of hogwash. By midnight, Rowley was making a statement that he was duped. Somebody maybe from Nigeria call him and say that Trinidad and Tobago is in for a windfall from Bill Gates. And the man so gullible, and the man so self-serving, and the man so like himself. Somebody out there tell me they love to hear me say that, so let me repeat it. The man is a backside and a half. Yes. You say that you get a call from somebody representing Bill Gates Foundation of money, according to Rowley. You know, Rowley went on and put in the United Nations Secretary General some kind of expenditure. Then he realized that he made an ass of himself in front of all of us, and only telling me that the man is a total buffoon, an ass of unlimited quality. A pleasant good night. A pleasant good night. Welcome. And the sycophants are angry, but that's the reality.
Yes.
Call back, caller, sorry about that. I know that the sycophants don't like people to tell them the raw truth. And they prefer, of course, to hide, as the Bible says, in the darkness. In the darkness. But people like that, the Bible also says that when the time comes and they have to face the truth, they ask rocks and mountains to fall on them because they can't face the reality. A pleasant good night. Welcome. Pleasant good night. Welcome. Pleasant good night. Welcome.
Oh, good night. Thank you, Lennox. Good night, Lennox.
Yes, good night.
Yep, you can hear me okay, right?
Yes.
Yes. Good night, Lennox. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Speak up a little bit.
Okay, you can hear me, right? Okay, cool. So, all right, good. I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I've been just kind of frustrated, really. I'm fed up because every time you read the newspaper about somebody getting killed, raped, some crime in the school, and then you read about these ministers, and all they're doing is they're just sitting back as fat cats. You know, they want big pay raises. They appoint their friends to serve on board, so the money stays within that circle. They get hundreds of thousands of dollars a month in board membership and serving on umpteen organizations. They get somebody to write a report and they'll publish it. Many of them don't even participate in that report. It's like that police commissioner report. She was in that meeting, but I don't think that lady ever read that report because they get people to write it for them and they pay them and that's it. But I think what this prime minister, what gets me frustrated is that the prime minister isn't stupid. And he's not evil. The prime minister is very, very intelligent. And what they do, and the administration is very intelligent because they're insiders. What they do is they pretend they don't have knowledge of anything. They behave like stupid children just like we do because they see us as children, not children, not citizens, not adults. They see us as children who behave badly and deserve to be punished. And you don't deserve the information. We don't need to give you information because that's how they see it with us. So it's like technology, we can't deal with technology because it'll be over we had, we have to take it one step at a time. Cyber crime. We don't know about that stuff, so we have to, the government will have to give us the spoon feed us. Good, they want you to keep writing on carbon paper and writing old English penmanship because penmanship is so important, And yeah, behind we back them writing like this crapo, they're wheeling and dealing, drinking champagne, and that's how I see it. Yeah? And I tell you, it happens. And they don't give a rat's ass about none of us. We deserve potholes. Your foot, you get into that on a pothole. They don't care. They're not going to pay you. The judges are getting hunted down. That's Justice Judge Ramprasad, what his name is. He's an activist judge. What I'm saying is that this game that the government plays with the citizens, it's destroying our minds and our ability to fight back and to protest angrily. They make us feel, because children don't do that. Children need to be disciplined, they keep telling us. Yeah, children getting stabbed in school. I saw a video today of a little boy who got run over by a car, bounced up in the air in front of the school on a crosswalk with a zebra crossing. People don't behave, children just run out in the road and cars just Jesus, and we behave accordingly. And we will never, I don't want to sound negative, but in another country, you would see people protesting. Prime Minister, the president coming out and talking, and people will be so angry that they'll have to resign, those leaders, they'll resign and leave office. Never in Trinidad. They get promoted, they get shielded, they could rape somebody, they could sexually harass somebody, they get away with everything. They could have a Ponzi scheme, They could be raking in billions of dollars illegally. Nobody cares. They're going to be safe. But we, 99% of us, not the 1%, because they are all getting board jobs, they deal with the manufacturers. We are all the children. And we have to suffer the consequences of being bad children. That's how the Prime Minister sees us. And he talks to us in that tone. If you listen to him, he yells at us, berates us. And we fall into it because we criticize him and he says, yeah, they want the money on it. Some child is going to take a gun in school and start shooting up a school. It's bound to happen. It's coming. And you see, the Prime Minister drives around in a bulletproof vehicle. All these politicians, they better start getting security detail and maybe, but all of them now, you see, people, in my mind, I think people are so very anti-comment now.
That particular comment, from my assessment, is a rich mix of, as she started with frustration, but of course went on to say that these fellas are intelligent. Nobody doubts that from an academic perspective. But in terms of their conduct in office and how they manage the affairs of the country, you cannot ascribe intelligence to that. You cannot ascribe academic achievements to that. You cannot attach professional qualifications to that. You cannot see them in a light that says that they are, of course, accomplished, well-rounded intellectuals. You cannot. You cannot say that they are sagacious. You cannot, from their conduct and their actions. And it appears that it is incorrigible, meaning that they cannot be cured. So what you are left with, and as we have described, deductive reasoning as opposed to inductive reasoning, it is clear from both perspectives that if they have attended university and have acquired that level, tertiary education level, and if we are those of us who have had the fortune to attend tertiary educational institutions as well, and of course benefit from the offerings, you would also know that that is a misrepresentation. I'm talking about the Rowley administration, a misrepresentation of. But let me tell you, last caller, you are left with a bunch of greedy, avarice, and people who are prepared to breach rule of law, and therefore they are criminals. That's not waste time. Criminal conduct in order to stay in office and to deplete Trinidad and Tobago. Let's go straight to the line. A pleasant good night. Pleasant good night. Pleasant good night.
Good night, sir.
Good night to you.
Good night to you. Good night to you, sir.
Night to you as well. Yeah.
Good night, Mr. You hear me?
Loud and clear, loud and clear.
Right. Yeah, what am I going to say? Yeah, tonight I'm going to call out PNM supporters. And why I'm saying I'm calling them out tonight? Because I'm telling you that PNM supporters don't even love the leaders. They don't even love the party. All what they will tell you, there's a PNM until the dead. But ask them what it is there's a PNM until the dead about. they can't give you that answer because they wouldn't want to give that answer because the only how they pay them until they're dead is because of racial segregation. And I'll tell you why. No, man, call out Dr. Rowley. Do you understand what I say? You see bitterness, you see hate, you see a man totally out of control. And this great leader, as they were saying in Mr. Martin 20, lives to see these supporters ignore him and vote for Dr. Rowley. You will tell me you love your leader who now show you something about a man, you hear him dead yet and you still vote that man. I just show you something.
Go ahead.
Right? Happen to go and read the UNC today. And Kamala Bissessa come and read the PNM. I'm sure they're going to vote the UNC. They wouldn't vote the PNM because they don't love PNM. They only love the black man in front. It's only now they know that if you give a man of African descent a rifle, you call him a monkey because that comes from Dr. Rowley. And they go along with that. So they just love a party because of a racial segregation than the party. Because if you have a son and you spend money on him and he become a doctor, and this son that you love could take care of the old people, could take care of the young one, coming, going in the house, in charge, and making you proud, right? You will love that son right because that son making you proud. Because he's doing things to make you proud. And if that son is studying people you even grew up with, he ain't taking them on, and he going and study some other hierarchy, you as a father wouldn't feel good about that. So if Dr. Rowley is such a great PNM, and look at what he's doing to PNM people today, and these people still supporting PNM like if they study what going, they can't love their party because they will love the party to do well and don't have a man bringing it down. That is of your show for your party. You understand what I'm saying? So I will listen, I'll bring up some things what you might never even hear in the coming week to come. Because I follow those things differently to how people just think. Good night, Mr. Lennox. I'll listen up the air.
Yes, indeed. And I want to tell you, of course, go to the top of the class. Go to the top of the class. That is a wonderful assessment of the realities of Trinidad and Tobago. Just one issue that may have been left out, and that is because the evolution for play that they, the leaders, the party, an entity that strives and recognize that its only survival is that, and not on policies, program, and in other words, and of course, delivery. So it is in the interest to acquire power unmeritoriously and deliver nothing, but that is not sustainable. Let's face that, because eventually the country will crash. But the fact of the matter is that since the present crop, or the, should I say, the successive crop of leaders see their political ascendancy and their political dominance in that racial connotation that you refer to, they continue, of course, to project it. Because there is a term for what Rowley and they are engaged in. It is called, of course, pseudo-racism. Let me repeat one thing I said. Pseudo-racism, the use of race by a member of the race to pursue and to project and to acquire their own benefit and agenda. Let me repeat. They are practicing, the PNM I'm talking about here, are practicing pseudo-racism. They are exploiting their own people to get into government and do evil because they simply are unqualified, save for they are getting a blight because of their racial overtones connotation office. I just want to make that point and to add that point to the last caller, but beautiful assessment. It is a spirit of reciprocity condition to see an Indian person connotations and the narrative that they are thieves, etc. But the part a pleasant good night. Pleasant good night.
Hello, good night.
Pleasant good night.
Yes, good night. Good night.
Indoctrination, the brainwashing over many generations. But it's not just that alone. It comes with, of course, the length of time that the PNM has been in government. They have been able, of course, to infiltrate significant institutions in the country and put mediocres, or let me be more specific, put PNM-oriented persons in office who would then, of course, are expected to reciprocate by saying the PNM put me much in order to keep the PNM in office, whosoever that leader is. And that leader or leadership continues, of course, to reinforce and to say that others are not adequate to be, of course, in government. And that scenario continues. And therefore, you have the capturing of government. You have the capturing of institutions. You have the watering down of delivery and the ability to, of course, ascend it in the best interest of Trinidad and Tobago. And I sadly have to say that that kind of behavior over time is not sustainable, and Trinidad and Tobago may well have to engage in maybe the possibility of violent upheaval to eradicate, to bring back some sanity to our democracy. Because it is clear, everywhere you go, Rowley is prepared, of course, to damage the integrity of institutions, but institutions can compromise their own integrity. And as a conflict examples, Rowley went, of course, to the Integrity Commission in 2015, and the chairman compromised his own integrity and that of the institution by doing what? By extending time by 1 hour for voting. Justice Vento today, he is the lone, of course, commissioner, or I think they put somebody with him to investigate, of course, the acquisition of land for the highway to Point Fortin under the last administration that looked at those fake emails that Rowley brought into the parliament. Listen to the hilt. A pleasant good night. Welcome. Pleasant good night. Welcome. Very
yes, Lennox. Hello, it's me again.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, it's me again, Miss Arima. I now send the map for you. You'll have to zoom in and you will see where Aruba is.
Yes.
And you will see opposite Aruba is Venezuela, and you will see right opposite there, you will see where the fuel left.
Okay.
Amway.
All right.
Right? That is what Mr. Anil Roberts get. That is.
Well, I will look at Anil
So
Roberts.
I don't know when you will put up the map, if it's tonight or tomorrow.
No, tomorrow. I have quite a lot of work to do.
Yes,
so
yes, that will be good.
Right. Yeah. So thank you for the information. You're working, man.
Yes, okay.
Right.
Yes. Everybody has to work, we have to cooperate.
That's right. We have to cooperate. That's right.
All right, then. Have a good night.
Same to you, my dear. That is what I love about this program, that we have people who are prepared, of course, to make it so solidly that the integrity of it cannot be questioned because of the supportive evidence, the verification evidence that is so pellucid that and so convincing that even sycophants are tremble. They tremble, and of course it sends shivers down their spine to still support Rowley and the PNM. So I was making the point that it is it is a reciprocal relationship where the party reinforces and the population who is the recipient are expected to compromise their integrity and the institution to which they attach. And I was making the point about Ventor, that he resigned to take the line of Rowley and they, even though as a collective, the Integrity Commission at the time sat on that matter and said that those emails were bogus. Ventor come out and supported Rowley. And today he is what? He is the loan commissioner in a land acquisition matter connected, of course, to the opposition today and former administration. This is clear, but I ain't finished yet. Independent Senator Helen Drayton. You ever say? Independent Senator Helen Drayton, in a sitting in the parliament, asked the opposition to what? It is historic, unprecedented, and up to today, mindful as an independent senator will ask for the Kamala Persad-Bissessar administration and Kamala Persad-Bissessar to call election. To call election as an independent senator. Understand what is happening here. And when Rowley won the elections in 2015, questionably, he want to exercise exorcism to get the evil out of parliament, referring, of course, to the Kamala Persad-Bissessar administration. And today, he had to run to Grenada after they hog tie him up. Bandits tie him up in his presbytery up at Gonzales. And after that, he hightailed to Grenada and telling his parishioners now in Grenada, don't get involved in politics. In other words, as he did, preferring the devil that is now a manifestation and marooning throughout Trinidad and Tobago, delivering only evil. Evil after evil. But I ain't finished there yet. Coco, Aloes and all of them were venomous in reinforcing this notion that the opposition and Indians, and of course the racial connotation to proliferate and to be reinforced. Yes, Calypsonians. That is why they are so poorer today, and that the art form, save of course recently for the intervention of Marshall, they got a little boost. They ain't bringing political calypso, because when they bring political commentary, is always about bashing, of course, the opposition now and the government then, between 2010 and 2015. That is what Rowley has done to their own people. And mind you, don't tell me that he intended that bananas are not good for him, because people see him as a monkey in a very innocuous advertisement that says it about the UNC, which is consistent, and that is, they are more caring. And from a whole basket, a whole tray of goods, he pull out a handful of, a hand of bananas and say that he ain't no monkey. And the stupid people in Labre and Point 14, I say stupid from the perspective that he went down in Marabella and said that he not closing down Petrotrin, and he closed it down, and 65,000 of them are on the unemployment block. And when he said that in Sangre Grande for the 2020 final campaign meeting of the PNM, they go on and vote. They're going to vote him. You had to be stupid. Rowley can catch. How I from Laventille and he can't catch me? For a very long time now. Can't catch me. I will give you some of those stories I told you, personal encounter, whether it's Manning, whether it's of course Hines, as I told you, whether it's me, of course, Martin Joseph. I can tell you, even Imbert, personal stories. I had Imbert walking up and down Passy Street, jumping over drains up in Passy Street. Yeah, I had him. He will never respond to me, even though you're going to tell him no. I had he jumping over drains. He, Imbert, had him jumping over drains in Upper Passy Street, over rocks, and walking through the blast issue. And I made it, of course, an opportunity to take what I consider to be abstract revenge. And to show the people in Passy Street and environs in particular, and in Laventille by extension, that they are our servants and they must deliver. Lennox was, in fact, not just talking the truth, but that fella is a hell of a man. You hear me this morning on the ground report? The PNM and government are two different things. PNM is a party of a bunch of hustlers and a criminal enterprise. You see that when they build their monstrosities of the land south of them and the north, the boundary of the Tranquility Government Secondary School, they confiscate where they send the elevator and of course their car park on that particular piece of land that they are now continuing to construct, that 5-story monstrosity of corruption, nepotism and cronyism. They take the dirt and they put it on the land that was formerly, of course, just down the road. So they didn't intend to pay a cent. Transportation too costly for a truck to go to the labas to dump it. So they put it there. And today we are seeing that a sign has gone up at NH International, the true, of course, the sign that they're going to construct, of course, the headquarters for what? For the Ministry of Social Development on that same piece of land where the PNM dirt that they excavated from to produce, of course, their basement is on that discarding of that material. Government and party is two different things. The PNM is a party that happens to be in government. Not a government that happens to be a party called PNM. That is a madness. And we must make the distinction and let them know that we are more intelligent than they are because, of course, their conduct is one that is attempting, of course, to hoodwink us. And we are saying to them that whether you pretend, or whether you are obfuscatory, whether you are engaged in histrionics and theatrics and tomfoolery, that the laugh is on all you. Laugh is on them. The laugh is on them, sycophants. Yes, and the caller did mention certain things. Let's go to it one time.
I see hate. Mr. Speaker, I see bitterness. Mr. Speaker, I see acrimony. Mr. Speaker, I see animosity. And Mr. Speaker, I see a man completely out of control. Completely out of control, Mr. Speaker. That is what I see. And that problem is not a new problem to me, you know. I was aware of the tendency for the honorable to go out of control since 1987. How do you care?
All right, good. Go ahead again. Go ahead. Yes, good night to you as well. I know that they're hearing you now.
Something today about something with the salary review commission. That is salary increase to who? The ministers?
Yes, and some senior, let's say government officials as well. There's some adjustments as well, like permanent secretaries.
Yeah, but you have retired people who is receiving an NIS of 3,000 and a pension of 3,005, but is still taking $1,000 out of that pension of 3,005.
Yes, yeah. They have a formula that I at this time can't reference, but I know there is a formula that I examined, and it's unfair, but that is the formula.
Okay.
Yeah, even if you worked for the NIS pension and the other one is not worked for, they seem to collate in such a way or calculate in such a way so as to deprive you of your pension that is not connected, of course, to your contributions. I mean, it's strictly unfair. That's something we have to look at when the new government comes into office.
Yeah, because, I mean, that is the only income the people receive, and they have to buy drugs and everything.
Yeah, they provide, but they made contributions. Why a person who did not make contribution is actually getting equal or close to that which a person that has made their contribution. The other pension ought to be given to the group that made contribution as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's very unfair.
It's very unfair. All right. So thanks very much. But there's someone else on the line that is trying to get it. Thank you very much. Yes. Bye. Yes, indeed. Yes, people, of course. The caller who called, whilst I was on the phone itself, by cell phone, you can call back now. We really appreciate, of course, and my apology for not being able to simultaneously take both calls. We say it is simply impossible. Otherwise, you'll have chaos and confusion. But let's go straight, of course, back to Patrick Manning. Yes, that call is coming in, so let us go straight there. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
A pleasant good night. A pleasant good night. Lennox, I hope that you are hearing me good.
Yes, I'm hearing you well. Yes. Loud and clear.
That last caller, right? He see acrimony, he see hate, he see everything. But yet still he went and stayed his finger to put him there. Manning is because of the trouble that we are in today. Because of Manning that kicked him out in 1986 with that incident in Diego Martin office. We will never be facing this. If he had kicked him out in 2007, we would not be facing this today. But he went back and voted for him. He endorsed him by voting for him. That's why I don't blame Rowley so much, and I blame Manning. He should be turning in his grave for what it is he did to the people in this country. Manning knows what it is Rowley was doing. He knew the kind of person Rowley was. But still, he brought him back in the situation that we are in now. After half year, and all them have left it. And I record serious. Archbishop Harris, that big man. No, all the country, they were even in Rome. We are there right now. Just 2040. That. Women are now, but from them. Especially 2015, resurrection is coming. That a resurrection is coming. He stood on the pulpit and restated everything that Rowley was talking about.
they all competitions going on in this country. By the minute, and not a word, but it's racism. The day we stop, the country will be better or in the year. I don't know. Don't they feel like where they am.
Yeah. Boy, you're breaking up at the end there. You're breaking up at the end there. Wow, you're breaking up at the end.
And everybody hiding. Everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Wow.
I said everybody have pepper in this country. We just get problems tonight, Lennox. So it can't have good.
The sister willing boy, but of course, I'm sure that you would have had some difficulty, just as myself, to get all that was being said. But I think we got the gist that Manning is largely responsible for the creature called Rowley, because he didn't take affirmative action as he ought to have. But of course, they had their what I consider to be acrimonious encounter in the parliament and outside of the parliament. But I think at the end of the day, the evil that Rowley is and the aggressiveness that he and ferventness that he pursued, that level of aggression towards iniquity, as he would say, Rowley would say, structuring things towards wrongdoing. Structuring things towards wrongdoing. That is Rowley. Everywhere he went was some kind of bubble. But let's see again what Manning had to say about him.
I see a man completely out of control. Completely out of control, Mr. Speaker. That is what I see. And that problem is not a new problem to me, you know. I was aware of the tendency for the honorable to go out of control since that.
Yes, indeed. So I don't think we need any more explanations as far as that is concerned, because, of course, Rowley has always demonstrated, especially the last 8-9 years, that he is totally reprehensible. He is ugly outside and inside. He is reckless and brutal. He, of course, meanders and deceives, and in more ways than one, generates a level of disquiet and dishonesty and disrespect, especially for women and the children.
Right, Lennox, and to the listening audience.
Yes.
I hear you, Lennox.
Yes, go ahead.
Right.
I'm hearing you loud and clear. Yes.
I have been listening to some of the callers, and I want to say, I beg your pardon?
Go ahead.
Hello?
Go ahead.
What
speak.
did you say, Lennox?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Speak.
All right, good. Yeah. Cool. I said I was listening to some of the callers, and I wanted. Yeah, are you hearing me?
Yes, loud and clear.
I'm speaking, Lennox.
Yes, loud and clear. I'm hearing you. Yes. I'm hearing you. Go ahead.
All right. So you're hearing me?
Yes. I'm shaking my head. Yes.
Okay, but you anyway, I'll continue. I was saying that I was emphasize that what the PNF is doing is nothing new. That is the template of Eric Williams. And as we know, Eric Williams was an autocrat. So it's nothing new that the PNF has always been self-serving. It has never been about people. They have always used the vote to bamboozle and hoodwink the electorate. But PNM has never been about the betterment of the people, especially black people. and it disguises or masquerades itself as the party of black people. But PNM serves a community that isn't black. The 1%ers are not black people. And the other thing is that that fiasco with the sunken vessel in Tobago, the overturned oil, gas, and cocaine. We have to add cocaine to the mix. That was no accident. My own personal feeling is that it is a distraction, and PNM people are anything. As long as they are in power, that is what their end objective is. So my personal feeling with regards to that overturned vessel, all the nonsense that they're trying to bring, I don't think anything to do with Guyana. It has to do with Venezuela and the PNM and the illicit, as I heard Mr. Biden, the president of the U.S., he made a statement, and he said Trinidad is engaged with Venezuela in moving stuff that there is an embargo against. And he said that he, meaning America, will put a stop to it. So I don't know what measures America will take, but what I do know is that whatever America says, it can back it up. They have the muscle to back it up. So I just want to say that I hope that the people in Tobago, because it is a distraction from what the work that the TPP was doing in Tobago or are doing in Tobago. We see that as a result of the TPP come. And I know, I will repeat again, that Tobago East and Tobago West, if PNM loses those two seats, they can no longer be the government of Trinidad and Tobago. So I think that they have done this, created this fiasco, this debacle, to distract from what the TPP was doing. Now the people have to be engaged in some other stuff rather than in focusing on building Tobago. So I know that the PNM is going to come with their spin, their lies, and the rhetoric to tell people about the manner in which that overturned vessel and the oil leak and the spillage, etc., the way that the current THA administration handled it. Because I know Rowley is praying for the complete and total failure of Chief Secretary Seba Afali and the rest of the THA governing body. Thank you and good night.
Thank you very much. I want to tell you, well, the second person for the night, of course, go to the top of the class. Wonderful assessment from the distance that you are at. I want to also invite myself to ask you if you can send me, if you can, copy WhatsApp of that Biden statement. I think it will assist us both on the ground report and on this program as well. If you can find that particular statement, I will really, really appreciate it. But I will make an attempt, of course, to look at it, to look for it tonight. Right, with respect, of course, to his comments on the oil spill and the possible collusion between Venezuela and Trinidad and Tobago. It will be a significant shift, and of course, the optimism of Rowley and the hoodwinking that everything is honky-dory as a total and absolute fabrication, if not a deep misinterpretation. A pleasant good night. Welcome. Welcome. Good night. Good night. Go ahead. Speak a little louder.
Rowley getting a big cut in Rowley getting a big cut in his money, but my pension is going down the drain.
Yes,
I
yes,
wish you
yes.
can help me. You help a lot of people.
I hear you.
Hoping to hear from you. Good night, sir.
All right.
Good night.
Anything else?
Okay, take care.
Okay. All right.
God
Thank you.
bless.
Thank you. God bless you as well. God bless you as well. I didn't get it too clear, but I don't want to make a commitment because some people say that people say certain things, and then I then say, of course, as Miss Santa Cruz will say, once bitten, twice shy, and of course, third time, of course, you have to be a fool. Well, of course, I don't want it to be a third time, otherwise, I will certainly be categorized in the fool category, which, of course, according to that cliche, according to that saying, according to that, what I consider to be maxim. Let's go to the lines. A pleasant good night. Welcome. Pleasant good night. Welcome. Boy, you're breaking up, boy. Jeez.
And obvious, all the slave catch up. If
right.
the same dog in Guyana, and the symposium, open river, river, and he tried to, Mr. President Ali once said, like he Prime Minister, he forget how he tried to downplay after Ali, the President of Guyana, in Trinidad in the Hayat. Because the boy Maduro, he have his back and they get through the deal. But one thing what I call to say, if they change the constitution and elected a leader, have delegates to come, and then everybody will vote and come and say all who vote for him. So I just asking that question for the slave catchers and them. Is that was a vote a parent way or a corrupt way to get the leadership? And then when we get the leadership at the end, right? When Brian Manning protest in San Fernando East, because he was doing an internal cleansing of the whole head of them, who was it, Mr. Manning? And then his team who want to keep the PNM logo, the first country design. He owned PNM, they see that. These though that they've used the gas production and saying that they have gas. All the plants are closed. They have gas, so all of them will have mass down. And all of a sudden you will see Shell just taking up the entities. And one thing I want to ask you, Mr. Lennox, you remember, you read on this program, Mark Lukwan had signed an open company for exploration and development of the energy and gas and content and other minerals. I hear he made a design and he's not going back as the chairman, the position he holds in NDC. But I hope he leaves you with that company. So, like the boys and them different entities and put it in their private pockets, and the slave catchers and them will understand that. But it's a nice day to see that the workers sit down and relax and take 4%, 0.022. So they want 2.2, and now Rowley wants a salary like the opposition leader because she getting her pension as a prime minister of 59,000, and then the opposition leader has took his right 80. All Rowley had to do, call election, and go into opposition and be the opposition leader, and he will get more money. That is all. We are greedy for money, and he suffers. I only hope the citizens and the working class understand the nastiness India is doing and using the law and the parliament to govern them and hush them up. Have a nice night, Mr. Lennox.
Very much, of course. And I must comment, as I started with, just to entice and just to, of course, anger those of you with respect, of course, to the fact that I have said it, of course, yesterday, that that is merely a deflection, but it has to be said because it's part and parcel of the matrix of course, shenanigans that this administration is engaged in, and we need, of course, to expose them lucidly and to show them that they will have no opportunity in this 12-month period of hotter than a choker, belligerence and tenacity of the population to expose the tails. So, of course, I think I have achieved my objective by introducing, of course, Imbert tonight so that you clearly recognize that it is a deflection, an attempt, of course, to generate talking points and to, of course, sideline the oil spill in Tobago. I say to all of you, well done. That is the issue, because they are not going to, of course, implement that measure. It's only for talk. But I remember when you know, in my sociology, should I say exploits, my studies, I think it was the kind of, I think, functionalist sociologists that spoke of corruption as being functional, as being appropriate, where in circumstances where a person is employed but don't want, of course, to be promoted to another level, because right where they are getting bribes and all kinds of perks outside of the official salaries and, of course, emoluments that they would normally be getting, and therefore they prefer to remain there. Well, Rowley and Imbert demonstrates that, but there's a further sinister scenario with these fellas. Now, I understand the independence of the Salary Review Commission, but it was a special assignment that they were on, initiated by this government. But oh gosh, all you thieving enough, all you engage in greed and in the spread of the resources of the country outside of all this salary, who recruiting themselves, who saying that as Prime Minister, I am also a farmer. And then, of course, as I said earlier, they implement, of course, measures for 25 years, no taxes on apartment family dwellings. And Rowley building his in what was called, of course, the ill-fated landate. And Imbert, of course, right, of course, in Port of Spain, in Woodbrook, build his as well. And then they eliminate or prevent others from benefiting from that 25-year tax-free who own buildings in Port of Spain simply because their construction or their buildings were constructed before the end of that measure, so that only they alone, Rowley and them alone, benefits, and not to those who were there. In other words, it is not retroactive. That beast, and I'm talking beast here in plural, that beast called the Cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago, and those within, that beast called the PNM, evil son of a gun, and of course, charge of a criminal enterprise. And as the caller rightly said, and as I have intimated, that I did not go as far as the caller, which I note that it has always been so since Eric Williams set it up, and I agree. But I want to say that this group of individuals led by this mafia a criminal as well as rapist and pedophile. Could you imagine a prime minister under the PNM being called a rapist and a PNM and a pedophile every night, and he chose a blind eye to it? Where is his morals? Where is ethics? You know what? His morals is steep in the fact that he holds the office and he's rubbing his thumb. So he believes, but of course I see it as a figurative thumb, because I believe in destiny. I believe in perseverance. I believe in righteousness. I believe in fairness. I believe in the fact that evil could never prevail over good. I believe in the rule of law. I believe in our democracy and the contents of our constitution. I believe in the separation of course, checks and balance that would have been enshrined and by our founding fathers recognize that the device that is now very prolific and very poignant and very obvious and conspicuous in Trinidad and Tobago today. They figured out that a brooding and evil leader occupying the office of prime minister can become a dictator. And we are seeing that unfolding on a daily basis. Incompetent, insignificant as far as his utterances are concerned. Nobody listens to him. But the office provides him with a stick-to-itiveness, with a basis. But more than that, the people who are expected to abide by this constitution will make the constitution work. And therefore Tobago did it. Trinidad and Tobago did it in 1986. They did it again in 1995. They did it again in 2000. They did it again in 2010. And I expect that they will do it again. But on this occasion, totally annihilating, totally vanquishing the PNM to the inexorable state of political dustbin history. Political dustbin history. That is where the PNM must go, because no one, as the caller rightly said, can emerge to be untainted and to be not cursed with a degree, arrogance, contempt, misbehavior, corruption, objected to that which they know and to ruin ultimately Trinidad and Tobago. We have a duty, therefore, to save Trinidad and Tobago. To save Trinidad and Tobago. People, we have come to the end, of course, of tonight's program. It's now 6 minutes past 10 o'clock. We started on time. And, of course, we must, of course, end with, of course, the reality of Trinidad and Tobago today. And that is...
Since you take over as Prime Minister, it's plenty pressure. We have to suffer, and you will do nothing better. Rowley really have to go. Oh, Rowley really have to go. Oh, Rowley really have to go. Since you come in power, you is a big failure. Collapse the economy and do nothing for we. What you have to show, you know. Sorry, Trinidad and Tobago, but Rowley really have to go. Oh, Rowley really have to go. Oh.
Yes, indeed, of course. Have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. Don't forget tomorrow morning, the ground report, Andy, Mikey, and myself. Of course, Andy is still under sabotage. Please, if you can help financially, then Andy really needs that assistance. He has not given me any instructions to advocate for him, but I say, if you are sending get well to him, please do it with an envelope or some gesture that will suggest financial obligations. That being as it may, have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless us. See you tomorrow morning on the ground report. Andy, Mikey, and myself. And maybe there we go again, making certain that we understand that this group of miscreants.
Since you take over as Prime Minister, it's plenty pressure. We have to suffer, and you will do nothing better. Rowley really have to go. Oh, Rowley really have to go. Oh, Rowley really have to go. Since you come in power, you is a big failure. Collapse the economy and do nothing for we. What you have to show, we don't really know. What you have to show, we don't really know. Sorry, Trinidad and Tobago, Rowley really have to go. Oh, Rowley really have to go. Rowley really have to go. The crime rate is out of hand, they're shooting up we blessed land. We need more protection, it's time to take some action. We live in fear, too much to bear. We live in fear, too much to bear. And PNM don't really care. Rowley really have to go. Oh, Rowley really have to go. Rowley really have to go.
From the Trinidad, location 7 miles off the coast of Venezuela. SOS, SOS, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. Help! The Trinidad, a luxury liner, sailing the Caribbean Sea with an old captain. Captain, the seas are rough. Oh yes, we gas tank almost empty, no electricity. We oil pressure reading low. Shall we abandon ship or shall we stay on it and perish slow? We don't know, we don't know. Captain, you tell me what to do. Whoa, whoa. The Trinidad, oh, she was a beauty with wealth that few surpassed. And in her day, sailed majestically. There were few in her class. Faithfully she fulfilled her sailor's need. Some were overpowered by greed, and so they pilfered slow. Some took by bulk and go. Now she looked dull, she's at a lull. She could barely sit on her hull. Captain, the ship is sinking. From the Trinidad, location 7 miles off the coast of Venezuela. SOS, SOS, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. Help! luxury liner sailing the Caribbean Sea with an old captain named Eric Williams. Oh yes, sail smooth and free. But sadly Eric Williams passed away. The ship hit rough water that day. Someone turned the bridge over to a captain named Chambers. Me blood crawl, things start to fall. Hold me head when I sail a fall. Captain, this ship is sinking. Captain, the seas are rough. Oh yes, we gas tank almost empty, no electricity. We oil pressure reading low. Shall we abandon ship or shall we stay on it and perish slow? We don't know, we don't know. Captain, you tell me what to do. Whoa, whoa. The Trinidad, oh, she was a beauty with wealth that few surpassed. And in her day, she sailed majestically. There were few in her class. Faithfully, she fulfilled her sailor's need. Some were overpowered by greed, and so they pilfered slow. Some took bite, bulk, and go. Now she looked dull, she's at a lull. She could barely sit on her hull. Captain, the ship is sinking. Captain, the seas are rough. Oh yes, we gas tank almost empty, no electricity. We oil pressure reading low. Shall we abandon ship or shall we stay on it and perish slow? We don't know, we don't know. Captain, you tell me what to do. Whoa, whoa.